The rise of Spider-Man, a hero born of tragedy and responsibility. Peter Parker was an ordinary teenager living in Queens, New York, a brilliant but awkward high school student who struggled with the usual adolescent problems: school, friends, and family. Raised by his loving Aunt May and Uncle Ben, Peter was just a regular kid until a single moment changed the course of his life forever. It all started during a school field trip to a science exhibition. While touring a laboratory that specialized in radioactive technology, Peter was bitten by a genetically altered spider. The bite had unforeseen consequences. Almost immediately, Peter began to notice changes in himself: superhuman strength, agility, and the ability to cling to walls. His senses were heightened, and he developed a spider sense that alerted him to danger before it struck. At first, Peter saw his newfound powers as a chance to improve his own life. He designed a suit, crafted mechanical web shooters, and entered into wrestling matches and street performances to make some quick money. But his life took a tragic turn when he chose to ignore an opportunity to stop a petty criminal. That same criminal would later rob and murder his beloved Uncle Ben. Devastated by guilt, Peter remembered Uncle Ben's words: "With great power comes great responsibility." These words became Peter's guiding principle, transforming him from a self-serving teenager into the superhero the world would soon know as Spider-Man. As Spider-Man, Peter embraced his role as the protector of New York City, battling not just criminals but also superpowered villains who threatened the city's safety. From the relentless Green Goblin to the sinister Dr. Octopus, Spider-Man's rogues gallery was vast and dangerous. But no matter the odds, Peter's determination to uphold justice never wavered. Spider-Man's powers were remarkable. His ability to swing from skyscrapers using webs, his superhuman strength, and his agility made him a formidable opponent. His keen intellect allowed him to solve complex problems, often devising ingenious ways to defeat enemies who were far stronger or more powerful than himself. But more than his physical abilities, what made Spider-Man a true hero was his heart. He cared deeply about the people of New York, and he would risk his lifetime and again to save strangers. Peter Parker's journey wasn't without personal sacrifice. As Spider-Man, he had to balance his duties as a hero with his life as Peter. A life filled with school, friendships, relationships, and financial struggles. His dual identity often strained his personal life, but Peter understood that his role as Spider-Man was bigger than himself. He became the everyman's hero, a symbol of hope, resilience, and the belief that anyone, no matter how ordinary, could make an extraordinary difference in the world. Through his unwavering sense of duty, Spider-Man inspired not just the citizens of New York but countless others around the world. He was a reminder that power should be used for the greater good, and that true heroism lies in selflessness. For Peter Parker, Spider-Man was not just a mask he wore, but a responsibility he accepted. A responsibility to use his power to help those who couldn't help themselves. Despite all the good he did, Peter Parker's journey as Spider-Man was fraught with personal trials and immense sacrifice. His identity as Spider-Man came with a cost that few could understand, and often, it left him feeling isolated and torn between two worlds. The more he succeeded as a hero, the more his personal life seemed to unravel. Peter struggled to maintain his relationships, especially with those he loved most. His constant absences and mysterious disappearances strained his relationship with his childhood friend Harry Osborn, and, more painfully, with his first love, Gwen Stacy. The burden of keeping his identity a secret often meant letting people down. Yet he couldn't stop. He couldn't walk away from his responsibility, even when it demanded almost everything from him. One of the greatest tragedies of Peter's life as Spider-Man was the death of Gwen Stacy. Caught in a battle with the Green Goblin, Gwen was thrown from a bridge, and though Peter used his web to catch her, the fall took her life. That moment shattered Peter, marking one of his most painful failures. He realized that even with all his powers, he couldn't save everyone. The world was full of loss, and Spider-Man, for all his heroism, was not immune to it. Still, Peter pressed on, driven by the belief that his powers were meant for something greater than himself. Time and again, he faced villains who threatened not just New York but the world. Yet his most dangerous battles were often internal, fighting against doubt, guilt, and the overwhelming sense of responsibility that sometimes felt too heavy to bear. Through it all, Spider-Man grew into more than just a symbol of strength and agility. He became the embodiment of resilience. No matter how many times he was knocked down, by his enemies, by life's hardships, or by his own mistakes, he always got back up. His relentless spirit was what made him a true hero. As Spider-Man, Peter faced villains like the ruthless Kingpin, the chaotic Carnage, and the vengeful Venom. Each of these enemies pushed him to his limits, but each also taught him valuable lessons about fear, loyalty, and the consequences of power. His fight with Venom, in particular, was one of his most personal battles.
And I'll go